So I'm sitting here with Brady. He is one of our career success advisors at Centriq. Brady, can you talk a little bit about what you do here?
Yeah, as a career services advisor, I'm working with our students and alumni that are going through the program and who have completed the program, whether that be with our cybersecurity track or maybe a former boot camp track focused on development or another technology. We're helping make sure that their professional skills are, developed, ready to go. That this is somebody who can enter into the workforce and represent themselves as well as the Centric network well, and enter the career field in IT.
Okay, so you work with current and recent alumni, but also alumni who maybe have been out of the Centriq program for a while.
Yeah, I think that so generally when people think of, an educational program, they think of helping the students that are currently going through, which is definitely a big focus of what we do. We're in classrooms giving presentations over things like resumes, interview preparation, we host events like mock interviews, career fairs, things of that nature. Um, but we also have to be prepared for when an alumni reaches out to us and, hey, it's been a long time, but this is something I'm encountering currently in my transition. Maybe they are
Mhm.
laid off. Maybe they are wanting advice on how to word things to a current employer in a situation they're in. And because of the rapport that Centric has had, they reach out to us. So we find ourselves kind of needing to pivot what we're doing with current students as well, to be able to help the alumni and continue that rapport as well.
Well, I know a big part of the Centriq program is staying up to date,
Yeah.
both on industry standards and technologies. But it sounds like you try to stay up to date with the job market as well,
Yeah.
and continuing to help alumni, but also just knowing what's out there in terms of the job market and what employers are looking for. How do you prepare yourselves for that to make sure you're giving that current,
Yeah.
updated information?
I think it's definitely a big focus. We have weekly team meetings here at Centric that we're talking about bringing up the different things we're seeing in jobs that we're tracking and pulling in for students. We do have an internal job board as well as a page for our alumni. And so we are pulling in jobs consistently and looking at what are we seeing the technologies that are primarily listed on those. Are they listing pay ranges that we can kind of acknowledge for students to be able to look at their job search and further it and make it even stronger. And so we also attend different networking events where we're having conversations within the community about how we can keep the IT workforce in Kansas City,
Mm-hmm.
and keep promoting the efforts of hiring teams because we're at a point where we're kind of transitioning between a lot of automated systems as well
Mm-hmm.
as that humanistic connection. So it's been really cool to not only collaborate as a team, looking at our own, LinkedIn's and job postings that we're tracking, but as well as to talk to the community members that are involved in hiring and IT leadership and hear what they have to say about it too.
Okay, that is something that I've heard from some alumni a lot is that there is a community
Yeah.
in the IT field, especially in the Midwest.
Mhm.
So you're in connection with that community, right? You're part of it.
Yeah, it's funny because I didn't think that I would ever be somebody that was a part of like an IT community. I'm not an IT person myself, but I see the value of helping people transition their careers as well as developing those professional skills. I'm passionate about helping people in that way, and it
Mhm.
aligns so well currently in this role. And seeing seeing these students and alumni go through navigating that both digital trend of automation.
Mm.
Is my resume going to get through this applicant tracking system? Is it going to be laid out and formatted correctly based on industry standards? And we know that with technology, things are moving so fast. Um, how does education, keep up with the ever-changing technology and what employers need?
Yeah.
So it's been really cool to help have conversations about that process. It feels definitely very validating, as well as, some of that imposter syndrome sometimes.
Sure, sure. I think that imposter syndrome is something everybody deals with,
Yeah.
but there's kind of an added concern these days that, it's underlying with, I mean, we all know AI is a huge topic right now. And a lot of jobs are, I don't want to say going away, but they're changing. And maybe there's
Yeah.
fewer roles available to people. But I was looking at an article the other day from Cyberseek and the data that they've collected just over the past 12 months. They said that there were 514,000 new jobs in cybersecurity in the US just posted in the last 12 months, and that was a 12% increase year over year.
Yeah.
Which is the opposite of what you're hearing in general about the job market, is that there are fewer jobs, but it sounds like cybersecurity, the field is growing.
Yeah, and it definitely is growing, and it's cool to be in the conversations to see like our alumni are now at the point where maybe they're in the hiring seat. They're looking at the same information that we are, and so we're going into conversations and talking about, okay, well, we know that these jobs exist. We know that there's a lot of repeated job postings that maybe in the past that data was not tracked correctly because of if this job is reposted versus posted for the first time. Who looked at the job description and created that? And is this information that we have, they're recycling the same job duties that have been written down multiple times? Is a person who understands that technology writing the job description? I come from a place of recruiting in the IT world before being a career advisor, and I often found that job descriptions alone weren't even clear to the recruiters. It would take an conversation with that direct hiring manager or team member. And so kind of now full circle, we do have students that graduated, worked their way up and are now in those hiring seats. We're able to have conversations with them, taking it a little bit deeper. They see that connection for entry-level work and for Centriq in the community. And that's kind of a really cool place for the conversation to start and come back to. How can we continue to elevate our community?
Yeah, wow. So, I've heard things about ghost postings and stuff, so maybe these numbers aren't always 100% correct, but we do have the numbers for us.
Yes.
And for our Centriq alumni. How many Centriq graduates have been hired so far in the month of October?
In the month of October so far, we're sitting at about 9. I know 9 or 10. I've got about 6 people that are waiting to hear back right now. So that number can change at any time during the week, in the month. We know that hiring managers generally like to extend those offers on Fridays and towards the end of their month before quarters end. So fingers crossed, but our students are doing the work. I would say even more than ever before. They're really trying to go beyond just applying to a job, but show that they're ready for this.
Yeah. Okay. And at this time of recording, it's Tuesday. Friday is the last day of the month, so we could see a lot more hires this week.
Yeah.
And it sounds like we're averaging a couple of hires per week.
Yeah, it varies, but that's tending to be the average.
Yeah. Okay. So what are some of the companies that have hired Centriq graduates recently?
So we've had some really good traction with Complete Technology Solutions, a local MSP. They have an internship program, and we know that they have had several Centriq students go through that paid internship program. So it's a chance for students and alumni to really transition and get ramped up. And in talking to them, they like the fact that our students have that foundational level and can be taught the specifics for that company, that MSP, that position. That foundational level is what's needed, and then they can really hone that person into their environment, which is, I know, a really good skill transfer or a thing within the skills that they look for. We also have several people that have recently been interviewing and or accepted roles with organizations like Children's Mercy Hospital here in Kansas City, both whether that's on contract or full-time. And we're working with a few recruiting partners in the area as well, such as Tech Systems, Tricom, and Seed. So we have a lot of traction and a lot of people who are willing to look at our students' resumes and have those conversations to help them navigate beyond what we do here in career services.
And are these employers like existing within our network, or is there a reputation that Centriq has with them already?
Yeah.
Obviously, for the first one you mentioned, they know that we have the foundation
Right.
set. But what about some of these others? Like how are they connecting with Centriq graduates?
Yeah. So that's a really good question. So the alumni that have gone off and they're in roles within our community, we know that they're talking about their time at Centriq. We know that because we get reached out to by their hiring managers, their team managers, or even them to help connect and refer people to their jobs. Outside of that, a big part of our job outside of the student facing in career services is to continue to develop those partnerships with local employers. And so our team meets regularly with and reaches out to regularly to new organizations to try to have conversations to simplify their hiring process and show them, hey, we've got a really credible pool of candidates, and you don't need to have hundreds and hundreds of submissions to have somebody come into this role. We can help alleviate that for you and streamline the process. And here's the data that supports that. Here's the companies that are successfully doing that. And so I just think that that's a really cool thing to be a part of and to see. Working on a presentation we actually have coming up here, we are reflecting on the fact that that positive rapport starts at the very front of this organization, works through the student experience, and then after graduation through follow-up with alumni and their contacts. We're always networking. One of the cool things that recently just happened was we were reached out to by a hiring manager for the Chiefs, and that team reached out to us. They had an entry-level IT position, and they knew that they couldn't post this position out because they would get so many applicants.
So many. 'Cause everybody wants to work for the Chiefs, right?
Of course they do. And it happened, they've tried it before. They were overwhelmed with the amount of submissions that they received, and so they reached out to us directly. In that conversation, they acknowledged that currently we actually have, if not a majority, a large number of alumni are on their team and make up their team currently. And so they knew the credibility of our students coming out of this program. They reached out to us directly to get some submissions. And so our team kind of, pivoted what we were doing and made it our priority to identify who is going to be the right candidates to send over to them of our recent alumni, as well as a couple of current students who are just really showing up in the program.
Current students, really?
Yeah, there's some that are very close to graduating that have taken it upon themselves to proactively schedule or obtain certifications.
Before they're even done with the program.
Before they're done.
Wow, that's amazing.
And because of that, we feel comfortable saying, oh, this is a student that I know I feel like I want to present to this really cool opportunity because they're going to also be able to continue that positive name of their affiliation with Centriq in the community moving forward too. And so it really comes back to our partnering with students, having conversations with them, knowing who they are and who they are as professionals, to be able to then submit them to these roles, knowing that they're a part of this bigger community here at Centriq now too.
Yeah.
But how cool is it that after, so much time, and they reached out to us for this,
Yeah, that's incredible.
And it was something that we were kind of keeping a little quiet just for the sake of privacy with them reaching out to us. But it was something I definitely went home and bragged about to my significant other. So.
Of course. Well, that's interesting because I know a lot of my friends, and my husband just went through this recently where he needed to find a new job. It's overwhelming because you get on LinkedIn or wherever and you see a job posting and there's already over 100 applicants. And I'm sure, like the Kansas City Chiefs, of course, everyone wants to work for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So to know that Centriq is actually like, not only do you have an established connection, but these employers are coming to Centriq to fill these open roles.
Yeah.
We had a career fair recently, right, here at Centriq. Can you talk
Yes.
a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we held that on October 1st. And so, right at the start of the month, we had about 5 employers that were on site that were recruiting for active jobs. A really cool thing about what we've done in this past year with our calendar is allocate specific dedicated events that we're having employers come in or attend virtually to give them direct student engagement.
Yeah.
And so the career fair being the most, direct in person with the most employers, we know that we've had, out of that career fair, we have had at least 4 students receive offers of employment
Out of that
out of this
one
career
career fair
fair.
on the first.
Yes, people
Wow.
who attended that career fair. We had one student, she drove from Columbia to Kansas City for the second time. She attended a career fair that we held back in May. And in doing so, showing up, she saw some of the people that she spoke with before. One of our employer contacts is Leidos. And their recruiter had a conversation, said, "Hey, I remember you. How are things going?" And they were able to identify that she had accidentally not been contacted by their hiring staff earlier, but should have been. And so she was able to continue that relationship and that conversation at that point, and it was able to receive an offer that I know was better than she had hoped in regards to her first experience in IT out of Centriq. I mean, that's just one example. We had 3 others that were offered roles to start within the next couple of months through that internship at Complete Technology Solutions. And we know that there's a couple more of our students that were in attendance that are actively in rounds of interviews with other employers that attended as well.
That's fantastic. That's so cool. So I want to pivot a little bit and talk a little bit more. Obviously, Centriq has these wonderful relationships with employers, but how do you prepare our students
Yeah.
for going into these roles? One thing I've heard a lot is from alumni is if you work with career services and do what they tell you, then you're much more likely to actually land these jobs. So how does Centriq prepare people for these roles? Obviously, we've got the foundational program, and that's one of the things that our employer network really appreciates.
Yeah.
But what about learning how to use the skills that you already have that don't necessarily directly relate to IT? What are some of those transferable skills that people can use?
Yeah, so the transferable skills that we are told by employers that they're looking for the most are customer service, the ability to adapt and communicate within that customer service skill. Can you have a conversation with our client as well as somebody within the organization, as well as somebody who doesn't know how to use technology at all? Can you communicate cross-functionally to those different people appropriately? They're looking to make sure that people have the ability to speak to the technology that's being taught in our programs. But luckily, with the skills that they're looking for with that customer service, attention to detail, really it also comes down to the information that we are providing from career services that's embedded into their program already. So they have their standard access to courses on Canvas for technical components, but they also have a course dedicated to their career professionalism. So it's going over maintaining and updating a LinkedIn and having personal branding and a professional presence, what that means. It's going over developing a resume and being able to highlight your skills professionally there, but also tell the story through a cover letter or in interview preparation. We have dedicated mock interview days. We have our job search seminar as well as an internal job board where we as a team are sifting through and pulling jobs, sourcing jobs that we know are credible for our students. As you mentioned earlier, there are fake job postings out there, duplicates, and people that are scamming. And so we get reached out to by students asking, "Hey, can you help me verify that this is a real opportunity? Is this too good to be true? Hey, I noticed this and it seems a little fishy." And so we cover those things in our curriculum. We're in their classes presenting about them, and we have availability for students to schedule one-on-one sessions to have direct practice with us each and every day of the week. And so that first and foremost becomes the priority is let's connect with the students, identify where they're at within their skill set, and then tailor and have very personal, individualized conversations to help that person develop that skill. And it can be difficult, right? There's certain things that don't that we can't necessarily teach to communication. And some of the conversations we have can be very difficult in regards to, hey, this is something we're seeing and this is something that needs to change. But watching a student grow professionally in the ways we're advising them is a really, really rewarding experience. And those are the people we know that are putting in the effort and are likely to go get that job.
Yeah. Wow. And it doesn't matter what their background is. It sounds like you can find ways.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Every job, every background has transferable skills. Yeah. You can look at a job description that is similar to what you worked on in the past, and from that job description alone, you can pull the transferable skills that people don't realize they're doing. Most of the people within our current generation have the background of going and helping somebody, on their computer briefly, right? They're providing that direct support in customer service, whether that is in like a food industry, hospitality management, on the phone. You're having conversations and you're communicating people to identify their needs and to provide a solution. So we can pick apart their job, what they're currently showing us that they have done or are doing, and help them translate that into IT. And oftentimes, that's the biggest component that we have to help practice is speaking to the transition into IT. Why are we doing this? What do we want to do with this? And employers want to know that.
So can you give us a few tips that you would give to Centriq grads about how to find a job? Just throw a few out there.
General tips, definitely be utilizing your social resume platforms like LinkedIn, having a professional public space to be able to list out what you're doing, what you're working on. It's networking, and networking is the best way into any area of employment. In-person events are going to be that primary first thing that you want to strive for. But to get there, some people aren't comfortable with that, and it's okay to set small goals for yourself professionally and build up that momentum over time. So small goals and making sure you're active on LinkedIn, keeping that updated consistently for networking purposes. Those are my biggest things that I would advise.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Brady. This has been a wonderful conversation. I feel like I've learned a lot as well.
Well, great. I'm happy to hear that.
If I ever need to dust off the resume, I think I'm going to talk to you.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.